had an experiment in this country for 108 years, since 1902 or longer, depending which act you see as setting up state education. And it is a state experiment in education, which is centrally run, centrally inspected, centrally controlled. And after all that time, including the last 13 years when we've had unprecedented interest from number 10 Downing Street, from a Prime Minister, we've had an unprecedented succession of heavyweights in running schools, and where we've had unprecedented amounts of money going into schools, still, the outcome is that universities, particularly the academic Russell Group universities and other highly selective universities, are having to set their own entrance exams because they feel that A-level fails to discriminate sufficiently between the well-drilled and the intellectually able. It is far too easy to teach to the test. We no longer teach history, we no longer teach English, we teach exams. So we teach GCSE, we teach AS, and we teach A-level. And as we all know, and I was interviewing Nora O'Neill earlier today, and she was making the point emphatically that whenever you set a target, a system will bend everything towards the achievement of that target. And this has corrupted, it's impoverished education, and we've replaced liberal education in this country by a system of instruction. And teachers are technicians, and we have factory schools. So I'm all in favour of what Toby and others are doing, but it's not just higher education which is dissatisfied. Employers are mightily dissatisfied. Digby Jones was railing in the Sunday papers against the fact that less than half our children, after all this money and political time from the centre, are achieving 5 or more A's to C's. And you know, it's not that difficult to achieve a C grade at GCSE, and there are large numbers who don't even enter for these exams, 20% of children. So employers are, in their different ways, unhappy with the quality of what goes on, and the children themselves are far from happy. 63,000 truanting every week. Large numbers are excluded. Violence prevalent in many areas. 697, you have to check that fact, are suspended every day for physical assaults. So there is much that is good about the state education system. There's much that's improved since Callaghan's Great Education debate inaugurated in 1976 at Ruskin College. Much has improved since 1997, but has it improved commensurate with all the money that's gone into it and all the effort and urgency from the centre? And I for one think the answer is no, and it is because the system is fundamentally flawed, and this system of factory schools imposed from the centre, inspected from the centre, monitored from the centre, people taught how to teach from the centre, exams written at the centre, is over. And it no longer meets the needs of the 21st century, which requires people to have flexible understandings, an ability to use knowledge flexibly, an ability to understand what knowledge is, an ability to understand the interrelationships between different academic fields, an ability to work collectively with each other rather than just regurgitate huge amounts of information. We don't teach sufficiently active learning in Britain. Much of the learning in schools and indeed in universities is passive. It's about memorizing what you need to know to get the A grade. What are we educating for? Now notice, there's no school in that title for the discussion today. And not what are schools for, what are we educating for? Much of it is going to be happening in families, in homes. And you cannot have a bifurcated system whereby you've got schools over here and doing something totally different from parents. And what we need to do is to get them working much more closely together. Another reason why I'm very keen on what Toby, Young, and others are doing, because we have excluded parents criminally from schooling. Shall I tell you what happens on parents' evening? I'm sure there are many teachers in the audience tonight. But do you imagine that Jenny, who has got D grades all year and has truanted a great deal, Jenny's parents are going to be as keen to turn up as Lucifer's, who's got A grades in absolutely everything. You bet Lucifer's parents are going to be the first in and the first out of the sports hall. And Jenny's will just be able. We need to involve, if we are to truly educate people, we need to involve parents actively in the whole process of schools. My mother, now very elderly, ran in the 1970s something called the voucher program. She was told by the department and by politicians, including, I have to say, conservative politicians, that working class parents would not be capable of choosing a school. They lacked the equipment to choose it, either because they were not bright enough because they were, well, working class, or because the welfare state had atrophied the process, those parts of the brain that were capable of making choices. So they could make choices about where they wanted to live and the kind of house and the colours they wanted to paint their rooms in, and the choice of car and choice of holiday and choice of leisure, but they couldn't actually choose something as fundamental as their child's school. What you don't choose, what you don't make any sacrifice for, you cannot value in the same way as where you do. And I think that we need to bring parents back. Is that we have what we might call top-down drivers of education. They're the people who often financed education, set up schools. And who are these people? Well, throughout much of history it's been religious authorities who have set up schools to try and train minds. Government has set up schools throughout the world to develop people for the economy, to socialize them into society so they're not going to be lawless, to help prepare people for military action so you have a fit fighting force in the event of war. Business is a powerful top-down driver. So is higher education, powerfully shaping, maybe should actually play a much bigger role. So you've got those top-down drivers. Now what we're missing in this is a bottom-up sense of who a child should be. Now in the 60s it went all wrong. And it was far too child-centered. It went wrong in two ways. It went wrong because there was no intellectual framework about quite what we meant about the child-centeredness. And also it was not cognizant of what the end product was. So it was just bottom-up. It was all very easygoing, very liberal, very flower power, and it met its kind of highlight in A.S. Neal's, which predated, of course, 1960, Summerhill. And we have a model of an octagon, and we said every human being, every single person in this room, has 8 aptitudes: linguistic, logical, personal, social, moral, spiritual, creative, kinesthetic. And the job of a good family, of a good school system, is to develop, identify and nurture all of these 8 aptitudes, but to do so within a bottom-down world whereby you are cognizant of societal needs, of moral needs of society, economic needs. And if we get the balance going there much better, we will have truly a far more fulfilled workforce, a far better workforce, a more 21st century workforce, and we can break up once and forever this terrible, monolithic, impersonal and dehumanizing and frankly failed system of state education. The future is bright, the future is blue, the future actually is bright blue.